Guys, we are getting ready to get some new stuff to do in Destiny 2. The rhyme was very much unintentional there. But with today's news updates initially, and also unintentional, is Telesto's new behavior, so we'll touch on some exotic glitches, but then upcoming exotics, some new details about the Guardian Games event, moats, rewards, and a weekly exotic quest, which would be pretty cool. However, on top of this, Bungie also nod once again to systematic changes to the game coming in Season 11 and in the Fall expansion. We'll touch on what some of that means, but also, we get a look at some hidden rewards coming up soon, fixes in the April update, and timelines for the download of next week's content drop. So, guys, if you do enjoy the video, a rating down below very much helps me out, but now let's get into it. Initially, we do have a brief update from Bungie about error codes in the game, so basically they say they are continuing to investigate the vast majority of them. However, Bungie Help pointed out that they have implemented a temporary fix that reduces the number of players in the tower from 26 to 12. And in turn, that has resolved the Beetle error code until they can deploy a more permanent fix. So at least one of those error codes can be managed for the moment. Absolutely, I know for some players, some of these error codes are very significant and literally stop people from being able to play Destiny. So definitely pretty frustrating, and hopefully Bungie will get more of them resolved soon. Another quick shout before more upcoming content stuff. Players pointed out that Telesto's seasonal glitch has been found, and Cheese Forever posted a video on this, but this time it works in conjunction with Verity's Brow, and basically, it's possible to use Telesto rounds to trigger 5 stacks of Death Throws, which is the perk on Verity's Brow that allows you to get bonus grenade damage. And by doing that, you can double your grenade damage in PvE, but literally by making kills with Telesto. And in PvP, it's even possible to get a kill, and then melee some Telesto rounds to get 5 stacks, which allows you to one-shot Guardians with your grenades. Obviously it takes a little bit of setting up, and so maybe, especially inside of PvP, it isn't going to be the most common thing, but if indeed either of those exotics also end up being disabled, then at least you guys have a bit of a heads up as to why, and I will link Cheese Forever's video down below. Next though, in Bungie's most recent update, they tackle conversation about various issues in the game, and their plans to address some of the problems that Destiny 2 has in the nearish future. So that includes Eververse, Trials improvements, Bungie's plans to address fear of missing out, tackling the bounty problem, and many more items of feedback. Questions like players wanting to play their own way, but also conversations about ritual weapons, anti-cheat improvements, and more. So they say we have been having frequent syncs to talk through these issues and more. Many of them require a more long-term plan with short-term mitigation to help ease the pain. But the last thing we want to do is overcommit to changes that ultimately may be reversed, or sign the team up for work that leads to crunch. We don't want to make promises we can't keep. Over the next few weeks, we hope to solidify some plans to get them communicated out, and we're looking at what can be accomplished in Season 11, which is coming much faster than many of us can believe. But some topics will be tackled in Season 12, as they will require larger scale systematic changes. They say we hope to share our next steps with you soon, so the significance of the statement they make, of course, is that Bungie once again are talking about bigger system changes over the next 2 seasons. But they're putting that extra focus on larger shifts being aligned with Season 12, and that makes a lot of sense, as bigger picture changes do tend to drop alongside larger annual expansions. And so, looking tentatively ahead, Bungie are hinting that Fall is going to bring the most change, and given that pyramid ships are also being teased once again, and with Bungie saying the climax of this year-long story will begin in Season 11, I think it's safe to say that much like the pyramid ships on the edge of Rasputin's map, that right now the most distant references to the Fall expansion are kind of moving alongside that. So definitely interesting, and I think a lot of us can agree that various systematic changes will be required, especially moving beyond September or the fall of this year more specifically. But we did speak the other day about the credibility of a series of leaks for the Fall expansion. I'd say there is quite a bit of speculation really being put in the place of concrete new info, although, again, some of that speculation makes sense, such as the possibility of removing locations to make way for new ones. This will be a really interesting conversation going into Year 4, because Bungie outlined a technical limit to adding more content to the game, and have also readied us for the idea of potentially significant streamlining of the game in the future. And that probably will begin to happen later this year as well. So once again, that will be interesting, and it would be nice to see the game simply get bigger and bigger. I'm sure most of us would probably be okay with certain pieces of content going away in order to get new experiences. It would probably just depend specifically on what those things are. So I think both the arrival of the pyramids and the big technical updates that'll come alongside new content moving forward, for the moment, certainly, of course, that isn't answering our current problems in the game, but it definitely gives players a little bit more hope. We'll have to wait and see, guys, but Bungie still very much look lined up for a handful of releases this year. So once again, give us your thoughts about that, but now let's speak about the April update. So this is launching on April 21st, that is next Tuesday on the weekly reset. And of course it's update 2.8.1, which does include Guardian games and Grandmaster ordeals. So aside from the content, there are some resolved issues, and those include that Ward of Dawn will now correctly generate orbs of light, and that fully upgrading any bunker will unlock the associated Warmind security triumph. And then Jaido's statue in the Shattered Throne will no longer cause the game to crash. The level 32 PDS upgrade can now be used to clear the bunker by any character. The Daily Seraph weapon can also be claimed on any character, and players who've completed the Forsaken campaign will find the Lawless Frontier lorebook entry, By Thy Tongue Be Damned, completed and available to claim. And finally, friends listed in a player's roster should no longer show up as black nameplates with 0 power. So a few things resolved there, and of course we will get patch notes alongside that update on Tuesday as well. But specifically for the timeline, at 9 AM PDT, which is 5 PM in the UK, Destiny 2 services will begin maintenance. And then at 9:45, D2 will be taken offline. That's roughly 15 minutes before weekly reset. And then essentially at the weekly reset time, so 10 AM PDT and 6 PM in the UK, D2 is going to be back online on all platforms with the update available. To some of the content for the event though, initially an update on the new exotic weapon. Bungie do say that the exotic machine gun will become available during the event, and so Heir Apparent may not actually be something we can obtain immediately when the event goes live. But we don't know exactly how we'll actually obtain the thing. However, versus being a quest weapon, Bungie have said specifically, earn the new heavy machine gun, and so it kind of sounds a little bit like it's going to work more like the Arbalest did back in the Revelry, where we purchase the weapon after a certain number of requirements are unlocked. However, in terms of a date, JP Deathblade did data mine that currently the ornament for the exotic weapon is supposed to show up on the 5th of May. And so if the gun isn't immediately available in the first couple of weeks, it will almost definitely become available by 5th of May if that timeline is to be believed. So just something worth prepping for on day one of that event launching. It might be the case that we have to wait a couple of weekly resets before the gun will become available, but in terms of an idea of how the event actually works, firstly we visit Eva Levante, and each Guardian is going to receive a class item to adorn while taking part in the competition. On top of this, bronze, silver, and gold medals will be available to earn daily, and each of these will focus on specific game modes. And to earn medals, equip your new class item, defeat enemies, and pick up laurels on the battlefield to advance your quest for medals you desire. So Bungie say players can pick up medals from Eva and complete them, and then turning those medals into the tower podium will increase your team's daily score. But we will have to pick up laurels dropped by other players during Guardian games to complete medals and advance the team's rankings. So medals in themselves are a little bit like bounties, and we can see that laurels are kind of these blue motes that we can see on screen. And Bungie also say that during Guardian games, the podium will change daily to reflect the current status of the leading team, and class flags will update throughout the day to show which team is leading. So that's pretty cool, and gold will be for first place, of course silver for second, and bronze for third. One of the pretty cool gameplay elements though will include a weekly exotic quest. So apparently Eva each week is going to offer us a free exotic quest to earn an exotic ghost shell. One of them is themed to each Guardian class. And they say complete the quest every week to collect all 3. So I'm not sure whether Bungie are going to feature a specific class on each week or whether you get to just pick one per week. But that'll definitely be a pretty cool addition, and it is nice to have some exotic cosmetics actually available to earn in-game. But then, at the end of the event, Bungie say that daily placements will be combined for a final score, and depending on the team's standings, class items will be locked to their respective placement for the remainder of the year. So if Hunters win, as many in the community speculate, then Hunters will get to keep the gold class item, but on top of this, Bungie have said that a permanent reminder of the winning class will also be on display in the tower for an entire year. But on the subject of balance, Bungie say that they fully acknowledge that class populations are a little lopsided, and there are indeed more hunters than warlocks or titans, so to help offset this, medals are going to be weighted slightly per class to maintain an even playing field. And they say they aren't fiddling with the numbers to force wins on alternate classes, and hunters could still take the entire thing if they put enough effort in. And so the event will account for the fact that there are more hunters than other classes in the game, And I guess Bungie are essentially balancing the number difference between the amount of players with different classes. There are going to be Guardian Games weekly bounties, so they will drop Bright Dust, but also presumably are going to be double XP based on what we've seen in previous events. And they say a single finisher will be available for silver only in the Eververse store, but then there are going to be additional items with Bright Dust. They point out on the subject of vital information that players must wear Guardian Games class items in order to progress any Guardian Game bounty, and that EVA's daily reward packages will only be available to players who participated in that day's competition by depositing at least one medal, but also that daily reward packages don't stack, and EVA only holds one package for players at a time, so be sure to pick them up. But also, inside of Gambit or the Crucible, laurels don't actually drop onto the ground, but instead drop at the end of matches. And finally, unrecovered laurels won't go to a player's postmaster and actually have to be picked up to count. So be sure to bear that in mind, guys, and let us know your thoughts on the upcoming event down below. But another brief note again is that Guardian Games is only part of the event, so Nightfall Ordeals will also kick off, and it should pave the way for some pretty exciting quest content down the road. For any folks who want to get the Worthy title, it's worth remembering that DMG suggested that the final triumph for Worthy will be available after this update, and that's the hard-coded Victory Triumph, where you need to successfully defend each charge cycle in a Seraph Towers event. There is additionally a hidden emblem called Seraph Wings, and apparently this one is found in the Seraph Towers event as well, but hasn't actually been picked up by any Guardians yet, so that's a possible upcoming reward. And you never know, it could even be linked to the hard-coded Victory Triumph as well. But we do, however, know of some more spoilery content coming toward the end of the season, so quick alert on that, but it does include a secret mission into the blacked-out bunker on the moon. And it appears that Rasputin will tell us of his relationship with Felwinter and Siva, and then based on data mines, we'll finally get to collect a reprised Felwinter's Lie shotgun. And JP Deathblade once again suggested that this could happen on May 19th, according to Eververse schedules, when an ornament for the weapon should be available. So that kind of gives us the season roadmap from this point in time, right? From April 21st at least, up until May 19th. Looks like when we can expect all of the remaining content for the season, and then we get Season 11 in June. And so that's a quick breakdown of everything you need to know there. Quick known issues list, so a new one is that the engram from the Trials Flawless chest will disappear for players who have earned all available Trials rewards. That isn't supposed to be happening, and especially bear that in mind if you are unlocking the final few things that you need. On top of this though, Winter's Guile and Worm Gods are still disabled, and a fix is going to be deployed at a later date, so don't necessarily expect those to be sorted out in the update on Tuesday, and since they didn't mention it in the resolved issues section, it seems like Felwinter's Helm is still going to be disabled moving into the next couple of weeks. Certainly unfortunate, especially when it's a brand new exotic, and two of them have already been disabled this season. However, for today guys, that is what we have to speak about in this video, so if you've enjoyed this one, feel free to give us a rating down below, but also I very much appreciate you tuning in. And if you are new here, feel free to hit subscribe and turn on notifications if you want to be kept up to date with the game. Also, once again, you can check out the new 500k shirt that we launched just a couple of weeks ago. Really appreciate all of the support you guys have shown so far with that one. But if any of you want to check it out, the link for the new design will also be in the description. But thank you guys for tuning in today, and whatever you get up to, stay safe, and I hope you have an awesome day.